Everybody.
Hi, my name is Alana. And
my name's Benita. Thank you. And today we're going to be talking about difficulties of gender.
Yeah, and of course, for many of you out there, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to the difficulties of what it's like to be a man or a woman, or for me, example, a woman trapped in a guy's body, which sucks because you have the facial hair growing, you have the Adam's apples and stuff like that, and it's a hard struggle every day of your life.
Yeah.
And so for those of you going through this out there, then I'm sure you'll want to hear about what this is all about for our very first video on Fabulous Girl Talk.
Yes, this is very exciting. I'm so excited.
Thank you. Welcome to our very first video, and let's get started.
All right. So let's just discuss the struggles having to in and outs for you.
Yeah.
When it comes to having to feel like a woman inside, but people see you as a man.
Yeah.
What type of difficulties do you go through every day with that?
Every single day on the physical side, when I go, see people or people see me, what I always get hit by is, oh, you're a man. Kind of the thought of other guys or women or anything like that. And I don't blame them. Yeah, I do physically look like a guy, so I don't hate them for that.
Yeah.
But it also sucks as well on one thing, because it's I am a woman. I have the heart and mind of it.
Yeah.
I have done all that I can to change that, but, well, no luck. So,
you're I tried.
I know. So we tried, I tried, but it's in the end, I'm still a woman and everything.
Yeah.
And at 17, I did realize, I was a girl, but kind of I didn't know what else to do with that. I was okay, I'm a girl, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And I guess, looking back on it, that's when I realized, oh, I was a total tomboy.
Yeah.
I loved, getting dressed up, but I kind of, didn't really feel comfortable in girl clothes just yet. Or girl anything. I was kind of, more settled on being more boyish and being okay, cool, whatever. But I found myself liking guys, kind of oh, that guy's cute.
Yeah.
Would he like me? And kind of little by little, I realized, do I have to, not have to change, but kind of I think I want to wear something nice, but I don't know what. I've never worn anything glamorous before or girly before, so, until 22, years later, I realized I like wearing girl clothes, because I wore a t-shirt that my mom bought from the Disney store one day, and she was oh, I don't think this fits me. You want to try it? I'm okay, cool. And I guess she thought it was just for a joke, and I was thinking it was just for a joke too.
Right.
And I wasn't kidding myself, because when I did put it on, that's when I realized, wow.
Bam.
That's what,
bam.
Yeah, that's when I realized,
You really enjoyed wearing it.
I love it, yeah. And, that's where I found myself right then. Whereas when I was 18, I came out as gay to my friends and everything.
Yeah. And
kind of afraid to tell my mom and dad at that time, so I told my friends only.
Yeah.
And some people knew, some people didn't, and I thought, okay, I came out. All right, I'm trying to come out as gay.
Yeah.
And I kind of, in a way, a little part of me knew that there was a little bit more than that. Maybe not really gay, but I don't know. There was something telling me, you're not really gay, but I don't know what else to call you, or what else to call myself.
And that's the hard part, I think, with labeling. Is one of the hardest things. How do you, if you feel a certain way, how do you label that? And people want to label and say, oh, well, this person's just confused, and they're really gay, no matter what they say, whether they feel like a man or a woman inside. And that's been difficult. It seemed, I don't know, I watch little documentaries, and I've taken a psychology homosexuality class, and it's just so hard to label people in a category of gay or lesbian, or, whatever the case is. So that's hard.
It is, because it's kind of how do you, expect yourself to be happy when people are looking at you, a certain way, but there's also another certain way that you look at yourself. Yeah. Kind of I'm a man, or I'm a woman, and everything. Because I know that there are people out there, or at least I've seen documentaries where they say oh, I'm a woman, but I'm also a man at the same time. But people don't see that, so they'll always use the terms of miss, or her, or girl, or woman. Whereas with me, they're oh, you're a boy, man, sir, brother, or something, and I'm
you're a homie, or
yeah, and I'm okay, to be polite on the outside, I'm thank you, I appreciate that, but I'm thinking crap. Or,
you're why?
I know. So it's just, it sucks.
Yeah.
At the same time. So, being in a way a tomboy in a boy's body, hard as it is.
Yeah.
transitioning into more of being like a woman, harder.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure because there's physical aspects, emotionally having to express yourself in your body, and people being confused, like, whoa, you know, it just seems really frustrating.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
It's a struggle, you know, like for a person, you know, like me and everything, like every single day.
Yeah.
And so, like, what about you? Like, was there anything that you like struggled with, like growing up and everything, like in the whole gender?
This genderness of the wilderness.
Yes.
You know what? It's funny because growing up, I never thought of myself like I'm a girl. Like I was just kind of like, okay, I'm a girl, and that was pretty much it. I didn't really put anything to it. My older sister was more so the tomboy. She played basketball. She ran track. She was always just out and about with the guys and hanging out with the girls and just always being really active. So a lot of her hand-me-downs and the way that she was, I kind of took that upon like, oh, that's what a girl is. So when I was younger, I played basketball. I like loved going outside running and like total people would consider me a tomboy, but I didn't think of myself as a tomboy until people started labeling me as a tomboy. So now that I'm older, over the past couple of years, I've been trying to like embrace just feeling and looking more girly because I've had people tell me, oh, not even people, but certain people, dating people. I'm like not trying to put people out there. Dating people. No, dating people and like just like my other cousins and friends who are more girly. I'm like, oh, how do you like put your outfits together? Because I was never taught that. Like my mom used to be like, okay, you know, come upstairs, eat. After you're done eating, you play outside. So I would go outside, still playing with Barbie dolls. I'm like, oh, let me go play basketball. Let me go hang out with everybody and joke around. Let's play tag.
Yeah.
So it's still difficult for me because I want to feel really girly and really pretty and like have long hair and flip it around but at the same time it's like I still try to embrace that I'm kind of more on the casual side of things. Like my everyday outfit would be like jeans and a t-shirt with like boots or something. And then to other people it's like, okay, I only wear that when I'm like in the house and there's nothing to wear. Other people would go out and wear a skirt with really cute heels, even if it's cold outside, and I want my stuff to be more functional. And I think that's the difference between men and women. It's like usually men seem like they like to wear things that are going to be comfortable but still look good. Us women, we're going to be uncomfortable and look super pretty knowing that we're not feeling good about what we're wearing. So it's having a balance is my hardest thing. Yeah. That's the hard part. And so, I mean, I don't play basketball anymore and I don't do sports really anymore. I like more creativity. Sorry, more creativity and drawing and more just like creative performing type of, I don't know.
Kind of like just more of a like a creative outlet.
Yes, there we go. Creative outlet.
Yes.
Gosh, you're so brilliant.
Thank you.
A creative outlet. You really are. A creative outlet versus, oh my God, I'm just going to walk around and be so pretty. It's like I want to be pretty, but also embrace the creativity.
Yeah.
That's my struggle. And I want to be more, not even girly. I want to be more, like I do my makeup and stuff, but I want to like dress more fashionable. That's the word. Fashionable. Yes. So that's my struggle, and I will do it.
Same here.
Yeah.
Like, you know, with the fashionable part, and kind of like, you know, like what I understand is, you know, like when you grow up and everything, it's kind of like, yeah, like that's where things will change a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen this with all girls, or maybe not all girls, like some girls that I've seen, or a lot of what I've seen, like on TV, like at the beginning, girls will be tomboyish and everything. And I find that cool, because that's very easily for me to relate, because I'm like, I'm not really allowed to be so girly girl much anyway.
So it's like a nice in-between stage.
Yeah. And then when I realized, like, oh, she can do it, but then that puts a limit on yourself. Like, why can't I do it?
Exactly.
Because when you do that, people are looking at you like, what the hell are you dressed as?
You know what? That's true. And that reminds me of when you see a woman who's more tomboyish, it's more accepting than for a guy to want to wear more girly clothing.
Yeah.
But girls, if they do it, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, okay, that person's gay, or they label, but it's not as bad when they say, oh, that guy's wearing, even though you don't feel like a guy inside. The fact that physically they see you as a guy, it's harder to just wear what you want. Mm-hmm. And that just seems like, I can't imagine. I mean,
yeah,
it's tough.
It is tough. And, you know, it's like, especially when you want, like, I don't know, like when you want to go out on a date night or something like that, mm-hmm. and you're living with strict parents. Oh. They're saying, like, oh, you can't dress like that. That's really not appropriate. Or even during the day without dating, you know, like in the picture, like in real life, I'm always like, I want to dress pretty, but then like my mom will be like, oh, I don't know how I feel about you, like, dressing like that.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, like, maybe people will look at me, so I understand that point of view from her.
Yeah.
Whereas at the same time, I'm like, but what about me personally? Like, not to be selfish, but I'm kind of like...
No, what about you and your expression and how you feel? Because you're your own person.
Like, I'm not trying to impress anybody. Like, maybe a little bit, kind of like maybe to impress the boy. Here
Yeah.
Like the usual high school girl crushing and everything on a guy. But, like, maybe just at least a little bit of something more, like, fashionable, like, more catch the guy's attention kind of thing. Or kind of be like, okay, well... Or, like, for yourself. You want to do it for yourself and make yourself feel... more prettier or something like that. So it's kind of like building your own self-esteem, which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
And helping yourself to feel better about yourself. And so that's also another thing that I wanted to talk about. It's like when I do dress like very girly and get all like, like maybe a little girly on the side or like carry a purse, then I feel more at home because I'm like, okay, cool. I'm being myself completely. But then what makes it awkward is the people, like looking at me.
Right.
And thinking like, oh dear God, like why?
Why?
And that's happened. Like on, remember that time when you saw me on Halloween? I was wearing like the bow and
yeah,
the head of the flower on the side. I love that look. I never wear that, so that was like a first for me. Were you surprised to see me like that?
No, I mean I feel like because I've known you for a while now.
Yeah.
I see your personality, and when you wear that, it fits.
Yeah.
So if you came wearing like a baseball hat, it would be like,
that's a little off.
Yeah. You know, so it's like I see things differently because I know you and I know your heart and the person that you are. So it was more so like, woo, you don't always get to do that. So when you get to, I'm like, oh wow, you finally get to be yourself and you get to feel comfortable in your skin. And so yeah, it wasn't hard for me at all to get used to that.
I'm glad because like I kind of like because you've never seen me in that. Like when I meant surprised, it's kind of like, will you be surprised to like see me dressed full on like that for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Thing. And of course, luckily you were just like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I was like, woo!
Thank you. And I wore that on the bus, and I noticed like a lot of looks at me like,
oh really?
Why are you dressed like that? And of course, I'm thinking like in that way, I wasn't really scared because I was like, it's Halloween.
Yeah, you're like, I can get away with it. You can't judge me.
Yeah, like this is the only day I can be as wild or just as wild as I want to.
Exactly.
And I kind of went home and, who wasn't really too happy about seeing me. Like, she was kind of like, I thought you said you're going to change.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
you're supposed to put it on and take it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to, but then I kind of forgot about that because...
Well, you were comfortable.
And I was. Like, I think it's natural that I will forget about taking that off because that feels more like me.
Yeah.
And that was a day for Halloween, especially, like, people didn't really look at me too weird, but they're looking at me like, okay, whatever. But on a regular basis, though, I know that people look at me and be like, why are you wearing that jewelry? Why are you wearing that on your head or in your hair?
Yeah. So
I can't really wear hair clips if I wanted to.
Oh my goodness.
Even though my hair's growing right now.
I know, I was going to tell you, your hair's growing.
Thank you.
I like it, but Sally, you're going to cut it off. I know you are. I'm going to be like, why?
Well,
it's understandable.
Well, the reason why I do cut it off, though, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut it off.
No, you didn't cut me off. Go ahead.
When I do cut it, it's kind of like, it's because I can manage it better.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only thing. Other than that, if anyone else is handling my hair and I didn't have to do it myself all the time, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll let it grow then.
Yeah.
But, I'm afraid that if I get too stressed again, will my hair start falling out?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense.
Because that has happened. So I'm thinking, for anyone that's going through something like this, this is something very easy to relate to. Because,
absolutely.
Or girls or guys or anyone.
Yeah, anybody, absolutely.
Basically, it's like they can relate to what, like we're talking about, because this is what's happening. And it's also an issue for everybody in the world.
Absolutely.
These days. Especially when, I guess, I wouldn't say society is changing, but kind of like people are changing. Yeah. And, times have changed a lot.
Yes, even the last couple years, it's been different, like, I won't say an epidemic, but even, like, with the whole skinny jean era.
Yeah.
That changed dramatically. I mean, guys wear skinny jeans. I mean, all types of guys. Even African Americans, they're known for wearing baggy clothes for the most part. Yeah. Okay, they're wearing skinny jeans and they're sagging their skinny jeans, which is really weird, because there's tight pants with no belt. It's just weird. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, things are changing the last couple years for sure.
And, of course, luckily for my mom and dad, I'm dressing appropriately.
Yes.
So, there's no need to worry and everything. So, at least I'm still dressing appropriately, even though no matter how girly it gets. Mm-hmm. it's not like I'm gonna like go and be like, hey, look at this.
Woo! Just kidding.
But you know, like, that would be a nightmare to my parents and everything. But
Yeah.
I don't know, like I would say, you know, like for the things that my dad's more lenient, as long as I don't get too out of control with it,
Yeah,
then I'm
absolutely.
okay. And I understand that because I'm not that type of person to be like, hey, look at me, you know, like doing this. Like if people notice and be like, oh, I like that and everything, I'm like, okay, thank you. And people have said that, like,
Oh, wow.
when I painted my nails pink or something, they'll be like, oh, I like your nails. Or are they acrylic? I'm like, no, they're actually really painted.
Yeah.
And everything. So I get compliments.
Yeah.
So when I do get girly, it's kind of like people pay attention, and not that I'm trying to seek attention, but kind
Yeah.
of like pay attention to be like, oh, you are a woman.
Yeah, it's like they see it because you believe, and you're showing them, like, not even showing them, but you're coming out into the world saying, this is who I am. So they're able to embrace you because you
Yeah.
accept yourself. And see, that's the hard thing. It's like you accepting yourself versus people around us not accepting us is not even our issue. It's their issue because we don't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a hard time understanding that.
Yeah.
Well, I get it, but it's just frustrating. More
It
so.
is, because, you know, like, people, like, looking at you weird, or, like, kind of like, when they look at you, it's kind of like, you know, like, you're kind of quietly judging me, aren't you?
Yeah, you're like, I can see it in your eyes.
And, like, I'll look back at them, and, like, kind of like me, like, on the polite side, I'm, like, smiling, like, hi. You know, and of course, they're still looking at you, like,
And
and even when I'm not dressing up, I guess people kind of get that while they're in their car.
okay.
And I'm just waiting for the light to turn green.
You're like, ah!
And like the person like in like the passenger seat or whatever is looking at you like, kind of like, it's like they're trying to whisper like, who are you?
Yeah, yeah.
And that makes you feel awkward, like, about yourself, like, oh dear God.
Yeah, you're like, the attention.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. But I also notice like that there'll be guys that do look at you and think like, oh, you're very pretty, rather than when I'm playing Jane, they're looking at me like, oh. You know?
It's like, how can you win?
I know. And
Someone's always going to have something to say, regardless.
And actually, I have noticed some guys, you know, like, well, more so in their cars. I guess maybe they are gay, or maybe they are bi, or whatever, and maybe they like guys who are transgendered, or transgender women, or just femme guys.
Yeah.
And, like, some of them are, like, looking out there, picking out their heads, kind of, like, winking at you, or, like, hi. And I must admit, like, that's a nice attention, because, like, you don't get that every day, at least. So at least for a moment in that time, I was like, well, I felt pretty for 24 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So it was, like, it's kind of, like, fun. But at the same time, it's kind of like, why can't guys also see me for me without me being all made up?
Yeah, and still be accepted as who you see yourself inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of like, I'm not trying to repel boys, but kind of like, you know, like, I do want to dress comfortably sometimes, like this.
Yeah.
And not a lot of guys will turn their heads to me like, oh, you're very pretty, or something like that. Like, some of them will look at you and be like, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like just like another person on the street.
Yeah, just look the other way and onto their own business. Understandable. Well,
Yeah.
how do we, based off all the things that we've discussed, like, how do we come to a place of acceptance, and what do we do to meet ourselves halfway, and also, I guess, the world?
Yeah.
I guess on a final note, like, how do we do that? What do you think? How do you deal with it? Just so maybe other people, if they're having an issue and they don't know what conclusion to come to.
Well,
What do you
the best advice that I can make, I'm sure it's not the best one, but the best that I can right now is, you know, like, take it day by day, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm taking it day by day, and kind of slowly but gradually, like, kind of easing into the fact that you're not always going to win with the world or around with the people around you.
That's so true.
What matters most, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this, so it's going to sound cheesy coming from me.
No, it's
like,
okay.
You know, you can't please everybody.
Yeah.
You can't make everyone happy at the same time. And the person that you can make happy fully is yourself. So, you know, like, all you have to do is just kind of, like, tell yourself that, you know, you're beautiful. And I tell you that all the time. And
I know, and
text
I'm
message,
like, thank
"You're
you,
beautiful."
but I feel like crap right now. Oh my God, I'm so sad. But it does help, because at the end of the day, I'm like, I am beautiful. And I may not be a certain way to one person, but the beauty is in the eye of the beholder at the end of the day. So we still have to believe in ourselves, even when some people don't believe in us.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to at the end of the day is ourselves.
Yeah, and that's the best thing. Like, you can tell yourself, like, you are beautiful.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, like, oh my god, how ugly I am, or whatever, or...
Yeah. When you're like, sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
It's just one of those things where, you feel like that inside and you just want to be like,
Yeah, I know.
I feel like crap.
And there are days that people will feel like that. So,
yes. And you still tell yourself you're beautiful. You still push yourself. Because at the end of the day, no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
No one else. You have to take care of yourself. And thank God having good friends like Lana and a lot of my other friends, it does help even when you feel like crap.
Yeah.
It helps.
Well, thank you for mentioning me.
Of course.
And
It's
I'm
true.
glad for you.
Thank you. Yeah. We have an appreciation, little moment.
Yeah, and everybody's watching this, so woohoo.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's good. We appreciate one another and ourselves.
Yes, and I guess that concludes our video for today.
It does.
So, thank you for watching our very first episode of Fabulous Girl Talk.
Thanks, guys.
And until next time, peace out.
Peace.